Do you guys envy having childhood friends? I often hear people say that just being childhood friends is enough to make them fall in love, or that they envy the girls for being so close. But in reality, being childhood friends can sometimes hinder the development into romance and can bring its own set of challenges. Today, I'll share my story. My name is Tyler. My life, well, it was often envied by others, especially by other guys. Because I have a childhood friend of the same age. Her name is Anna. I honestly can't remember when Anna and I started hanging out. By the time I realized it, she was already by my side. Our houses are next to each other, and our parents are friends. As a matter of course, we were close as a family, playing together and going to and from school together. It's like having a sister living next door, a presence that is expected to be there. That was Anna for me. She is cute, has a good personality, and is caring, so having such a childhood friend, I was often envied. But to me, she is a childhood friend and family. So even when others envied us, I didn't find anything special about it because being childhood friends means being too close, which has its perks. Also, our rooms are right next to each other. Open the window, and you can easily see each other's faces. It's coincidental, but thanks to that, we talked almost every day even though we went to different high schools, and since I am not a morning person, Anna woke me up every morning. Her way of waking me up was quite unique. There are romantic comedies where childhood friends come into the room through the window because their houses are close, but it's dangerous. No matter how close, it's the second floor. It would be disastrous if an accident occurred. So, the method Anna adopted was, she used to knock on my window with a broomstick. "Tyler, it's morning. Wake up," Anna would say and wake me up. My mornings always started with Anna's voice, and it continued even when we each got a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You'd think, why don't you stop when you get a girlfriend or a boyfriend? But we are family, so we have nothing to be guilty of. That's why we could do it. Well, I wouldn't recommend it though, as it may be misunderstood. So Anna and I were always together. Even when we went to different schools or got jogs, our bond continued. As adults, we also went out for drinks every Friday. The best companion to share our complaints about being new to the workforce. Our relationship settled as family, without progressing into anything more. Even as we became adults and quite some time had passed, it remained unchanged. Darn, I got dumped again. The drinking sessions that used to be gripe fests with Anna had lately turned into occasions for her to listen to my complaints. Well, occasionally, it's Anna who does the complaining. However, overwhelmingly, I tend to be the one complaining more. Moreover, the content is usually about being dumped by my girlfriend, such "are you a teenager or something" kind of stuff. Well, that was fast. Didn't you guys just start dating last month? Yeah, I thought this time it would last more than 3 months. I was reasonably popular at the time and had a girlfriend. But for some reason, it never lasted long, breaking up within 3 months no matter how hard I tried. At first I was in shock, crying and drinking, but lately I was drinking out of desperation because I had been rejected so many times. Anna, with a bemused smile, would comfort me in such times. "So, why did you get dumped this time? Wasn't it cheating last time?" "This time," she said, "I was boring." Haha, that's quite a harsh comment, isn't it? Anna shrugs and laughs at my response. With a laugh, she says, "Cheer up," handing me my favorite dish. Anna has grown into a beautiful and kind-hearted adult. Yet, she didn't have a boyfriend. But it was not because her relationships didn't last, she simply remained single. In other words, she was the opposite of me. That's why she brushed off my complaints with a laugh, and that's why I found it easy to talk to her. Do I really come off as that boring? I do try to surprise her and all. Maybe your surprises aren't hitting the mark. Ack. I was at a loss for words. Because I was terrible at surprises. No matter how hard I tried, somehow it came up empty. For instance, if I give flowers to a girl, she turns out to have allergies and can't stop sneezing, and gets really mad afterward. Or if I book a restaurant for our anniversary, she calls it too overbearing. Nothing ever went right. But breaking up in just 1 month is still shocking. Sigh, I'm done. I'll just distract myself with my hobbies. Hobbies. I've gotten into camping recently. It's fun. Yes, I've recently discovered the joy of the outdoors. Being in the vastness of nature, setting up my own tent, and living there. Facing the overwhelming nature made my own worries seem trivial, and I could truly feel I'm alive. That feeling was incredibly refreshing, and I've become quite hooked, going camping repeatedly. When I told Anna about it, her eyes widened. Well, I've wanted to try it, but it's risky for a woman to camp alone. I'm so jealous. So, want to come along? Really, can I? Anna was surprisingly interested, so with the pure thought of I can have a camping buddy, I invited her to camp. I have most of the necessary stuff, so I asked Anna to prepare personal items like changes of clothes and sleeping bags. I gave her a proper list, and she said, "Yay, I'm looking forward to it," with excitement. I too was eagerly anticipating the camping trip with Anna. When the camping day finally arrived, it was a beautifully clear day, perfect for camping. Moreover, we were fortunate to secure a very good spot, elevating my spirits. With both the weather and the scenery so nice, Anna was equally thrilled. Amazing, such a beautiful view. Cool, isn't it? Yeah, thanks for bringing me to such a wonderful place. Anna is in high spirits, shining a sparkling smile my way. Her smile under the clear blue sky was breathtaking. For a moment, I was struck. Wait, was Anna always this gorgeous? Sure, she's beautiful, but I had never seen her as a member of the opposite sex before. So, I hadn't recognized her beauty. What's wrong, Tyler? Caught off guard by her beauty, I looked away when Anna tilts her head and looks at me. Being in a place rich in nature, different from the city, made her face stand out more, causing me to avert my eyes. No, it's nothing. Let's set up the tent. It will require some effort, so can you check the food supplies, make sure nothing's spoiled? All right, understood. To keep distance, I reluctantly asked Anna to check the food. It's just because of this place that I am seeing Anna in a special light. Or so I thought, as I set up the tent, but my heart was racing more than usual. No, Anna is family. Not in a romantic way. Or, I wasn't supposed to be. But, wow, Tyler, you can do anything. It's nothing, just a knack to set up a tent. Don't be modest. I respect you because I can't set it up as neatly. Just by receiving praise from Anna, who usually takes care of me, I felt overjoyed. So, I tried a bit harder. I strived to look cool while camping. For example, when we were making hot sandwiches, Anna, struggling with the sandwich maker, said, "How does this work, Tyler? Help," as she came to me with a sandwich maker jammed with overstuffed ingredients. Hey, you put too much. If you do that, it won't close, you know. Laughingly teaching her how to use it and the right amount to put in. When I finished setting up the meal while she was working on other stuff, she was extremely surprised. What, you've already done? Since Anna was a camping newbie, there were things she didn't know. I wanted her to purely enjoy camping today, so I acted a bit, rather very cool. But because of that, I used to think everything I ate out was good, but what you cooked for me tasted the best. It made my efforts worthwhile. Taking the lead in camping, teaching her the ropes, seeing Anna laugh so joyfully. Usually, Anna looks after me, but I found myself wanting to see her smile all day, and before I knew it, I was looking after her during the camp. Trying hard to see her smile. Before I realized it, it was already dusk. The time flew by so fast, it felt a little lonely. Gathering around the campfire, thinking the day was already over. It was fun today, thank you, Tyler. Please, let's go camping again. When Anna said that, I felt I wanted to be with her like today, always. We've lived like family all along, always together. But I didn't want that kind of together. I wanted to be a real family with Anna. That's what I felt. But this feeling is probably too late. Until recently, I've considered Anna family. Surely, she must feel the same. That's why she came camping with me. She doesn't see me as a man. Knowing this makes me so sad. I found myself murmuring while staring at the campfire. It would be nice if we could always be together like today. I found myself muttering that. Honestly, I thought I had blown it. I would be told, we're always together, aren't we? But contrary to my expectation, there was no response from Anna. I looked at Anna, wondering why. She was blushing more than the campfire. Yeah. I'm taken aback by the response, and I can't help but blurt out in surprise. It was completely unexpected, and I was bewildered too, but Anna bashfully says, "Don't say such things here, it'll give the wrong impression." Anna said that and looked down. Misunderstanding. No, could it be? What? I nearly fell off my chair in turmoil, hastily steadying myself. Seeing this, Anna sighs deeply. Really, I've thought this all along. I would never dump Tyler in just a few months, and I know all your good and bad points. I knew you only see me as family. That's why you could invite me camping, right? Realize it already, dummy. I'm not the kind of girl to spend a day with a guy who has no interest. She said this, ears red, and looked at me. Those eyes were indeed very feminine, and I caught my breath. Since when? Well, probably around the time we became adults. I was shocked when I heard you got a girlfriend. That's when I realized. Anna, maybe feeling desperate, opens up to me. It seemed the catalyst for Anna starting to be conscious of me was our regular meetings. Meeting and talking with me nearly every week, sometimes complaining about problems. I accepted all of her, never showing any displeasure, even with her near malicious complaints. Anna could show her true self to me. Others are interested only in the beautiful, cute, and gentle me, but you were different. You never rejected any part of me, and I was happy for it. But Anna knew I didn't see her as the opposite sex. So she wanted to stay by my side at least as family, and had always been a good family member to me. When I realized that, I felt my face getting hot. Anna had been caring about me all this time. I'm ashamed I didn't notice it, and I don't want to make Al endure anymore. Anna, I'm sorry, because I didn't notice. It's fine, really. It was me who fell in love with you. I don't want to make you feel that way anymore. I know it's convenient, but Anna, I thought you looked really beautiful today. I want to become a real family with you, so, will you be my girlfriend? My voice echoes well in the quiet night of the campsite. But I was desperate. I wonder if Anna understood my words. She smiled happily and says, "Finally, I've been waiting for those words." She said this and hugged me. I was such a fool not to notice someone so important so close to me. I will make her happy for the rest of her life. I made up my mind. Well, it seems the camping will end on a good note, but life doesn't always go well. What do we do? Seriously. Just before going to bed, we realized the sleeping bag Anna brought was broken. The zipper won't open, and when Anna tried to force it opened somehow, but only half of it. If it broke and couldn't be zipped up, it could be used as a blanket. This halfway open state means you can only put one leg inside. This defeats the purpose of a sleeping bag. I have a pretty large sleeping bag, and if we try hard, Anna can fit in it. But I thought of lending Anna my sleeping bag, but Anna would feel uncomfortable. So I hesitantly ask, "Get in." Then Anna, with her face red, nods. Man, what a situation. Sleeping in the same sleeping bag on the first night of being together. But well, nothing untoward. After all, the sleeping bag was just the right size. And doing anything in this place would be disrespecting Anna's parents, who treated me like family, and above all, my dad would say, "What are you doing?" and might punch me. So, I swear firmly in my heart not to do anything. I'm sorry, Tyler. It's tight, isn't it? Not at all. It feels just right. I say that, and Anna, smiling, says, "That's the kind of kindness I love. Good night." And she goes to sleep, leaving such a bombshell. Come on, give me a break. This is, tight in many ways, but I'm a man. I'll endure. Our first camping trip went well. Our relationship also changed a lot. In fact, it progressed quickly because we were practically together. Of course, we both dated with marriage in mind, and we soon met each other's parents, but both my and Anna's parents were friends, so there was no opposition. On the contrary, Tyler is like a son to us. We're glad to have him as a part of our family. We're so happy to have Anna as our daughter. There's nothing more joyful than this, and with that, the joy was immense. It was a festive atmosphere, and the meeting of both families didn't differ much from usual family outings. Well then, my parents and Anna's parents were overjoyed and offered us some incredible drinks, which was nice. And then, I proposed to her after dating for 1 year. Please stay with me forever. It was such a cliché, but I surprised her with her favorite flowers and a ring. I'm happy you remembered my favorite flowers. I love you so much. You have to make me happy or I'll be mad, she said, shedding tears as she slid the ring onto my finger. We were too close to realize, but we were each other's irreplaceable and important existence. Realizing this took some time, but I have no regrets if I can spend my lifetime with Anna. Anna felt the same, as did our families. Our relationship was an open book to our parents, and they, like us, often went out for drinks. They would even visit each other's homes for drinking parties. At those times, they would talk about the parent thing, wondering what they would do if our children brought home a partner. And it seems that they each thought the ideal partner for their child was the other's child. They wished that we would get together already and discussed it amongst themselves. Really, outsiders have their own thoughts. That's why their wishes became reality, and they were probably so happy, thanks to which I didn't have to use the common greeting, "May I have your daughters in marriage?" So, with many detours, we finally became united. Now, what do you all think after hearing this? If you think having a childhood friend is nice, beware. Having a childhood friend can be troublesome. For example, on days we fight, the dining table is filled with food I dislike, and since we've been together since childhood, we can understand each other's thoughts, making surprises almost impossible to pull off. There are struggles unique to knowing each other so well. But that also means we understand and support each other when tired or troubled. This is where our story begins, but of course, it's not the end. I'll be with Anna forever and ever, and live happily. That's my wish and my life goal. A rural town where I was transferred to. I was sent away because I'm incompetent, that's what I thought. The one who reached out to me was a beautiful boss. I'm Ted, 28 years old. I work for a company that manufactures welfare equipment, but I was transferred from the head office and came to this rural town. I wanted to be of help to someone. That's why I joined this company. I was devoted to developing products for welfare equipment, But it seems that I, who was sent away, was indeed incompetent. When I entered the modest-sized office compared to the headquarters, there's a friendly atmosphere all around. "So you're Ted, huh? Nice to meet you. I'm Sarah, assigned to assist you until you get accustomed. Feel free to ask if there's anything you don't understand." Sarah, 30, introduced herself in a composed manner. She's assigned to mentor me at this branch. How do I know her age? An older, seasoned clerk who's been at this branch for long told me. She looks stern, but is actually kind and hardworking. Very strict, but a trustworthy person. And although she's 30, I've never heard any rumors about her personal life. The clerk who told me this was watching Sarah with kind eyes, saying, "She's really a nice person, you know." What's up? Is there something on my face? Indeed, she's very beautiful. As I was staring at Sarah's face with such thoughts, she addressed me, seeming a bit annoyed. "No, it's nothing." I hastily replied, and she just said, "I see," and walked away to attend to a visitor. I went over the documents handed to me by Sarah, ingraining the information about the factory I'll be visiting on a later date in my mind. I never went to the manufacturing factory when I was working at the headquarters. It's my first time visiting a factory since I joined the company, and I'm already nervous. After finishing the unfamiliar tasks at the branch, I work on project proposals to submit to the headquarters. I really wanted to be involved in product development again. I stayed late every day, making sure I'm satisfied with my work. But not to the extent it interferes with my daily tasks. Today, once again, I get home late and grab some quick dinner. I should cook for myself sometimes. I glance at my kitchen, barely used, and mutter about needing to start cooking and managing my nutrition better. After eating and taking a shower, I reach for my bag. What I pull out are the documents for the client I'm visiting tomorrow. I read about the factory's philosophy and the features of the products they handle and drill it into my head. It's impressive. I can see how they care about every single material they use. The kinds of materials listed in the factory's brochure. It surprised me and piqued my interest with their quantity and detailed description of quality. I wondered what kind of process our products made in this factory go through to be completed. Then comes the morning of the day of the external visit. Of all days, the stress from the change of environment seems to be affecting my body. "Good morning, Ted. You don't look so well. Are you okay?" Sarah, usually so strict, seems to be worried and looks at me with concern. "I'm sorry, I'm fine." I acted bravely, not wanting to worry her. "Let's get going, Sarah." But Sarah still looked concerned. I didn't want to cause her any trouble, so I quickly finished preparing for the visit and hurried to leave. "Let me know if you start feeling worse." I guess she could tell I wasn't feeling great. She put some of the company's medicine in my bag, and I could help but smile. It was not just about seeing her kind side, but she also put a bunch of band-aids in there. When will I use those? I was smiling at her innate side. And so, we arrived at the manufacturing factory and completed greetings and the process check. The plant manager who showed us around was very personable. It was evident even to a newcomer like me. Embarrassingly, it was my first time seeing manufacturing process. While much of the manufacturing process involved machines, there were also numerous steps that required a human touch. I was impressed by the number of people involved from planning to manufacturing. Amazing, isn't it? Did you realize manufacturing a product and sending it to market aren't a simple task? Yes, I did. I was overwhelmed to see the manufacturing process for the first time. On the way back, Sarah, speaking to me, mentioned there were things that could be done because it was a branch office, speaking rather profoundly. There are things we can do because it's a branch office. For example, while listening to her, my eyes drifted to the opposite sidewalk. Charlie, A dog on the other side of the crosswalk clucked remarkably like Charlie, the beloved dog of my family, who had recently passed away. "Ted, are you listening? Ted, it's a red light." Before I knew it, I was crossing the street after the dog at a red light. Maybe because I wasn't feeling well, I didn't realize the light had turned red at that time. "Ted." Sarah's voice sounded panicked, and as I turned around wondering what was going on. In that moment, I hear the sound of a blaring horn and find myself being shoved by Sarah, who had run in front of me. Next thing I knew, I was lying in the middle of the road, and a little away in the middle of the crosswalk, Sarah was also down. A distraught driver rushed over to Sarah and was calling somewhere. Through the noisy surroundings and blurry consciousness, I understood Sarah had been hit by the car. That's where my memory cut off. The next time I woke up, I was in a hospital, informed by a nurse, who had come to change my IV, about the accident I'd been in and that I only had minor injuries, currently receiving an IV for exhaustion. Is the woman who helped me all right? What worried me was the absence of Sarah. At that time, Sarah had taken the hit instead of me. The image of her collapsing to the ground won't leave my mind. I kept telling myself she must be all right, but her not being here was making me anxious. The not-so-friendly nurse simply said she was fine and left. I felt relieved, at least, knowing she was safe. Once my IV was finished, I went to the room Sarah was in, as I was told. "Sarah, it's dead." I knock and call out, and a woman who looks exactly like Sarah comes out. "Who might you be?" Caught off guard by her harsh tone, I'm pondering how to respond when Sarah helps me from inside the room. "Mia, let him through, he's my co-worker." With that word, the reluctant woman let me in and left to finish her admission procedures. "Sarah, I'm really sorry." The first thing out of my mouth is an apology for causing her injuries. I bowed my head and apologized repeatedly, but Sarah forgave me without blaming me. "I'm glad you're safe, Ted. It's unlike you to cross on a red light. Did you see someone you know?" Sarah had bruises on one leg and a broken arm. Fortunately, her head didn't take a heavy blow, and she regained consciousness quickly. Despite her condition, she's working on her laptop. Faced with her question, my expression clouded over. I saw a dog that looked just like my deceased pet and ran after it. I thought she might get mad for such a reason, but I've never been good at lying, so I told her the truth. I saw a dog that looked exactly like my pet, who passed away recently, and I ran after it despite the light being red. "I'm sorry." I was ready to be scolded this time when I apologized for the second time, but she spoke to me again in a gentle voice. "So that's what happened. That must have been tough." I widened my eyes at her unexpected words. It wouldn't be unreasonable if she scolded me for almost getting into an accident chasing a dog, thinking I was messing around. That's what I thought. But Sarah stopped typing on her computer and looked straight at me, and for some reason, my heart started to pound loudly. "I'm done with the paperwork." At this, her returning younger sister shot me a glance as if surprised I was still there. She then quickly shifted her gaze back to Sarah and spoke about how her job was keeping her so busy that she couldn't visit every day, and that while she wanted to help out after the discharge, doing so daily would be difficult. Sarah smiles and says there's no need to worry, but I start to worry too, thinking about the challenges she must be facing trying to live as usual while restricted by her injuries. Knowing that all of this happened because of me, I found myself offering to help before I realized it. "If it's not too much trouble, may I visit and help out with everyday tasks?" The first to react to my sudden proposition was her younger sister. "It would definitely be a problem. I don't want an unknown man coming in and out of my sister's apartment." She seemed to regard me as suspicious and got defensive. However, this reaction was probably natural. If I had a sister and were in the same situation, I would surely react the same way. I just wanted to be of some help, but I needed to think of another way. Thinking this, I was about to retract my earlier words when Sarah made an unexpected remark. If Mia is busy, maybe I should ask Ted to help. That way, he can also help with work at home. Her younger sister was trying her best to stop it, but with that one sentence from Sarah, my suggestion was accepted. Once she makes up her mind, she doesn't budge, it seems. Her younger sister, appearing resigned, started dividing responsibilities with me. She still had her guards up, so she took charge of the laundry, coming in once a week on rotation, and I would help with the other household chores after finishing work. Until the discharge, I would visit every day, reporting on work and delivering any requested items. If you harbor any inappropriate feelings toward my sister, I will never forgive you. Her younger sister, apparently very protective of her sibling, kept reiterating this point with utmost emphasis. Don't worry, and Sarah, thank you for understanding. I will do my best. Her younger sister, still wary, continued to glare at me, but Sarah bowed her head in a gesture of goodwill and smiled. Every day thereafter, I went to the hospital after finishing work. Wanting not to inconvenience her workplace, I would compile work documents for Sarah and deliver parcels received from her sister. Such days continued for 2 weeks, and Sarah was able to be discharged. Even after being discharged, she needed rehabilitation for a while, and to make sure she faced no inconvenience in her daily life, I continued visiting her every day after work. The only change was, instead of a hospital room, now it was Sarah's room. Ted, thank you for everything. It's been a big help having you cook and clean since it's difficult doing it all alone. At first, I myself was reluctant to enter a woman's apartment every day, but thanks to Sarah seeming not to mind at all, I quickly got used to it. It's only natural since I caused the injury. Really, don't worry about it. Our conversation remained casual, but every day I was impressed watching her work nonstop on her computer, even with her arm impaired. And as the days of visiting continued, I noticed something. Ted, did you put tea in the tea maker? That wasn't me. You made it yourself yesterday. It was, surprisingly, her clumsiness. There were numerous occasions where she nearly fell over nothing, and it had me on edge. Ted, this comedian is a must-watch. If the TV was on, she would immediately switch it to a comedy show and passionately discuss her recommended comedians. Occasionally, she would show an unguarded smile. Day by day, I was beginning to see Sarah as a member of the opposite sex. Of course, not in any inappropriate way. Who was supposed to be the reliable and capable boss, seemed adorable and charming now. You're not doing anything with my sister, are you? Mia, the younger sister who comes over once a week to do laundry, has gotten along better with me than at first, but she still keeps a close eye to make sure I'm not slacking off. Don't worry, I don't have the nerve to do so. True. She's rude sometimes. It turned out Mia and I are the same age. Sarah seemed to wish we got along well. Even when we argued, she would watch us with a contented look. A few days later, after a long period of rehab, Sarah returned to work from today. I look forward to working with you again from today. Entering the office, colleagues had even prepared a cake happily celebrating Sarah's return. Amidst the festive mood enveloping the office, Sarah showed a soft smile I've never seen before. I feel my heart racing once again at that smile. Wondering if it's really racing, I placed my hand over my heart, but I stopped thinking about it as she pulled me into the circle to join the celebration. Even after that, I played a supportive role at the company for Sarah, who hasn't fully recovered. She graciously accepted my offer and has been leading a busy life. After work, I stayed back to work like before. The desire to return to the headquarters was strong, and I couldn't give up. When Mia, Sarah's younger sister, had a calm period at her work, I stopped going to Sarah's house to help out. Although slightly lonely, I allocated that time to work on project proposals, sparing even my sleep. It seems Sarah noticed my state, and one day during work, she took me out, saying she was going to visit clients. Do we not need to conduct the process checks? Especially not doing anything in particular, just visiting clients and making small talk. There weren't the usual process checks or submissions of proposals, which seems odd. Today, we just need to show our faces. Observing and talking to the people working at the factory is enough. For Sarah, who's efficient in her work, this was an unusual schedule. I wondered what meaning there is in these seemingly pointless outside rounds. The answer remained elusive as work hours came to an end. Watching colleagues leaving earlier, I, as usual, stayed back alone to work on the proposal. "You're working hard, Ted." For some reason, I could hear Sarah's voice in the now empty office. Sarah, it's unusual for you to be here at this hour. You should go home early. Mia will be worried." She handed me a cup of coffee and sandwich. She practically forced me to eat, saying I should have something. Sarah, who bought one for herself too, starts a conversation before she began to eat. "Ted, I heard you were involved in product development at the headquarters. They say you were really dedicated." That was when I was at the headquarters. Yet why was I transferred to a rural branch? She says she was too curious and asked upper management directly about the reason. You may think you were transferred because you were incompetent, but that's a big misunderstanding. Her approach, as if she's seeing right through my heart, made me stop eating and look straight at Sarah. "The headquarters wants you to build a production line for the products." These were the words said to me when I was transferred by my boss at the time. But back then, I thought they were just words to console me. I thought it was just a pity to be transferred from the headquarters to a rural branch. I just assumed that and left the headquarters without saying anything. Now thinking back, I felt I was quite rude. That was just a comforting word I couldn't comprehend, and Sarah continued her words. "Ted, you are a person who can show detailed consideration. I felt it during the period you were helping me. Not everyone can do that." Sarah said, "Even the bosses at the headquarters respected my consideration, and they thought I should be involved in the process of production." I knew the passion for product development, but only by interacting with the makers, we can make better things. And to support such people is what the company values the most, she taught me. Just submitting product plans and having them made. Such a relationship should not be taken for granted. For that reason, they want me to play a role in connecting the company and the makers. That's what Sarah told me. From that conversation, I realized the words my boss said to me at that time were not lies. At the same time, I realized that I was too attached to the title of the headquarters and missed many things. There are realities I wouldn't have known if I hadn't come to the branch. There must be many employees like me. So, Ted, you are not incompetent, you are expected. You were transferred to improve the future of the company. At her last words, tears came to my eyes. Because I thought I was incompetent. The tight string of needing to work hard was slowly cut, and I felt relieved. "I'm glad. I thought there was nothing I could do." While sobbing, Sarah gently stroked my back until I calmed down. And from this day forward, I decided to reconsider the way I work. I stopped sticking to the headquarters and increased my visits to clients. The bosses appreciated my consideration. If that can be of help to someone, save someone, and be reflected in my work, I want to do my best with what I can do now to lead to the development of better products. For that, the exchange of opinions between those who think and those who make is important. A place for interaction through the internet. I succeeded in creating such new connections between companies. However, another change came about within me after that. Despite finding a sense of purpose at work and living fulfilling days, I began to notice an increasing emptiness inside me day by day. I didn't know what it was. But it's always the alone time after I get home that I feel lonely. I've been living alone for a long time. Is it strange to feel lonely now? I wondered, but the moment I turned on the TV, I finally realized what this emptiness was. The channel I had changed unconsciously was showing a comedy show, and the food I made was for two. Yes, I still miss the seemingly short period when I went to help. What I recall is eating across from Sarah, absorbed in the TV on the sofa, and having casual conversations. I finally realized my feelings when I found myself looking for traces of Sarah. Then, I decided to contact her, to ask her if we can meet right now. We decided to meet near Sarah's house, at a stylish wine bar. Sarah, who said she loved wine, responded immediately that she would come. Sarah happily sipped her wine amidst my nervousness. As I was timing when to confess my feelings, she said, "Hey, Ted, when I'm alone in my room, I don't know why, but I feel lonely. I look for traces of when you were there, and I find myself wanting to see you. So, I like you. I wanted to tell you, so I did." To my surprise, it was Sarah who confessed her feelings to me. I was also taken aback because our feelings were mutual, and I couldn't help but widen my eyes. "Sarah, I feel the same way. I was lonely, looking for traces of you. I invited you today because I wanted to confess. You beat me to it, but I like you." My confession ended up being a bit messy. However, Sarah, realizing we felt the same way, turned red and broke into laughter, perhaps to hide her embarrassment. I also couldn't help but laugh, and a cheerful atmosphere enveloped us. And from that moment, we officially started dating. 3 years later, there was talk of me transferring to the headquarters, but I declined as I still wanted to focus on my work at the branch. Now, Sarah and I are walking slowly, arm in arm, down a straight path. If you make my sister cry, I won't forgive you. On both sides, friends and family from both our sides and colleagues were gathered, and Mia was clapping her hands in tears. Sarah, wrapped in a beautiful dress, smiled gently at Mia. Yes, we get married. Walking down the aisle, we savored our happiness. A new life is in Sarah's slightly swollen belly. Amidst the blessings, Sarah and I are excited about the happiness that awaits us. After 7 in the evening, having finished a day's work, I headed straight home from the office. Lately, it's been a daily routine for me to head straight home like a homing pigeon as soon as work ends. Our home that we bought as a newly built house 10 years ago. I used to often grab a drink with colleagues after work. Overdrinking and coming home late, scolded by my wife, Susan, was not unusual. That wife is no longer here. She passed away from cancer 2 years ago. She was just 42 years old. Since then, I started coming straight home. My name is Mike. As I approached the front gate, I heard laughter from inside the house. My son, a 7th grader, my daughter in 4th grade, and Susan's sister, Jessica. In these 2 years since they lost their mother, Jessica has played a big part in making sure the kids haven't felt too lonely and recently helped bring back their smiles. Jessica, divorced 3 years ago, had moved back to her parents' house, about a 10-minute walk from ours. Since Susan's passing, she has been visiting us every day, helping with cooking, cleaning, and laundry, taking care of us, me and children. What was all the commotion about? I could hear loud laughter all the way outside. As I walked into the living room, taking off my suit jacket, Jessica immediately came over to me and apologized. "I'm sorry. I should have come out to greet you," and took the jacket from me to put it away. Because when I asked Aunt to whistle, she couldn't make a sound and made funny faces trying. My daughter said, clutching the belt of my trousers. Then, she urged me to whistle as well. Me, I can't blow. I tried but couldn't do it properly. Even after the kids retreated to their rooms, Jessica didn't leave. She began mending the children's clothes using the sewing machine Susan had bought. It's silly doing this nowadays, isn't it? We could just buy new ones. I checked on her, and she said that. But I want to do something for them, Jessica said, and picked up my cardigan with holes in it, which I was already going to throw away. Look, this one too. I washed her with mixed feelings. Nice sewing machine. Is it one of the newer models? Yes, probably, I replied. Susan bought it because she thought even she, who wasn't good at sewing, could use it. With this, she said, she could mend various things. But soon after the sewing machine arrived, Susan fell and never got to use it herself. It was during our son's school sports day. Our son came last in the 100-meter run. He joined us, shoulders slumped in disappointment, as we waited with lunch prepared. I teased him about coming in last and laughed. He sulked. Jessica then said, smiling, coming in last is still a kind of first place, isn't it, if you count from the back? Our son nodded vigorously, perked up, and bit into the sandwich Jessica offered him. I exchanged glances with Jessica, who was smiling warmly, as I grinned at our unfazed son. Susan, your sister Jessica is indeed remarkable. I murmured to my late wife, Susan, in my mind. Another year passed as Jessica continued to come to our home and became almost like a mother figure to our children. And then came the 3rd anniversary of Susan's death. I was summoned to the family home over there by Susan's father, my father-in-law, and Jessica. My father-in-law used to be the CEO of a publicly traded company. So, the house he lived in was quite impressive. Once I was led into the living room, my mother-in-law, who brought in some tea, spoke a few words to me and then quickly left the room. The father-in-law sitting in front of me had a serious expression, quite different from his usual casual attitude. The tense atmosphere had me on edge, wondering what was going on. Mike, it's been 3 years since Susan passed away, hasn't it? Yes, time flies. My father-in-law nodded in silence. I've been depending on Jessica ever since, and I feel so guilty for relying on her so much. As I bowed my head, my father-in-law leaned forward. Is Jessica of any help at all? I honestly replied that not only was she of help, she had taken over all the household chores, and it was all thanks to her that the kids hadn't felt lonely. And you? What do you think of Jessica? I'm of course grateful. No matter how much I thank her, it doesn't seem enough. Just grateful, huh? I was at a loss for words, unable to grasp the meaning of his words. So, are you willing to accept it? What? I was taken aback by his unexpected words. Then, my father-in-law added, will you marry Jessica? This time, I was too surprised to speak. He once again confirmed that I didn't have a girlfriend. Won't you consider it? He said it was fine if I didn't answer right away. He mentioned that both of us were not young. She's already in her mid-40s, and I'm almost 50. We are not strangers to each other, so he suggested why not be together. This was absolutely shocking to me. But my mind was made up from the start. There wasn't a shred of doubt. Jessica is Jessica. She is my wife's younger sister, my sister-in-law. That will never change. However, I hesitated to answer immediately and postponed my reply to my father-in-law. But then, an unexpected situation arose. I was diagnosed with cancer during the company's health checkup. It was like I was seeing everything go black, thinking that after my wife, now it was my turn. However, After detailed examination, the doctors assured it was in the very early stages and it would definitely be cured. So, I was hospitalized for about 10 days. On the first day of hospitalization, when Jessica, who had come to accompany me, was decorating my bedside table with flowers, I told her about the marriage proposal from her father. I was shocked. "It's Jessica and me, you know. Is that so?" She shrugged her shoulders and lowered her head. "I was thinking about how to refuse while being hospitalized. I don't know if the timing is good or bad." When I jokingly mentioned it, she bowed deeply and apologized. "I'm sorry. It's not something you need to apologize for, Jessica." When I told her this, she shook her head. If I had endured more and not divorced, even my father. It was her father who had introduced her to her ex-husband. He was an employee at the company he valued, and Jessica had met him several times before deciding that she could marry him. However, once they started their married life, it became apparent that his intentions were to win over his father-in-law, who was the CEO. He often left home and had a bad reputation among women. Moreover, he acted irresponsibly in the company, taking advantage of his position as the CEO's son-in-law. My father, he was deceived by him too. After the divorce, he had apologized to her when she returned to her parents' home. So, I think my father feels guilty towards me. That's why he made such a request to you. I too had, vaguely, heard not so good things about Jessica's ex-husband. I can understand your father's feelings, but a relationship between you and me is out of the question. When I blurted this out, she turned to me resolutely. Exactly, you're absolutely right. I'll convey this to my father. Yeah, no, but wait, I'll say it myself when things settle down. I was the one who had received the consultation from my father-in-law. I thought it was proper for me to respond myself. The day of discharge arrived. Jessica had offered to come to help, but I politely declined. Having nothing to do during my hospitalization, I spent the day lost in thought. I wondered if my indulgence with Jessica was the reason my father-in-law had come up with such an absurd idea. Therefore, I decided it was best to gradually distance myself from Jessica. I took a taxi from the hospital to my home. I called Jessica on the way. "It's all right, you don't need to be here tonight. I'll order some pizza, the kid's favorite, as a celebration for my discharge." When I conveyed this, she quietly responded, "Understood." That night, as I had told her, while having delivery pizza for dinner, I asked my children if anything had changed at home while I was hospitalized. "We were totally fine even without you, Dad." Really? Even my daughter nodded yes in agreement, so I burst into laughter with the kids. I could tell that both my son and my daughter were genuinely happy that I had returned safely. However, Auntie was acting a bit strange. My daughter mentioned as if she just remembered. When I asked how strange, it turned out she had been drinking alcohol in the kitchen while preparing dinner. My son agreed. As far as I knew, Jessica was not exactly a heavy drinker, and she never actively chose to drink. I didn't know what had happened to Jessica, but I had an intuition. I was sure it had something to do with the marriage talk between her and me that my father-in-law had brought up. The next day, I contacted my father-in-law as soon as I could. He too had something he wanted to talk to me about. "I heard it from Jessica. She wants you to stop worrying unnecessarily. She's concerned you are troubled because of me." Even though I had asked her to keep it a secret, she had spoken to my father-in-law. He apologized, wishing the talks of marriage with her had never happened. I was more worried about Jessica. So, I told him what I heard from the kids. Eventually, I must have pressured Jessica about marriage, not once but twice. She was drowning her sorrows with liquor because of this. My father-in-law told me not to worry anymore because he had called off the marriage proposal with me. I requested him to convey to Jessica that she doesn't need to visit us every day as before. My father-in-law, agreeing, hesitated a bit before starting. Actually, this was about 6 months before my wife Susan passed away. When work finished earlier than planned, he visited Susan, and they were left alone. "Hey, Dad, I have a favor to ask." Susan apparently approached him. She had a request regarding me and the kids for after she was gone. He tried to encourage her, telling her not to be faint-hearted, but it seemed that she had come to terms with the fact that she didn't have much longer to live. "After I'm gone, Dad, could you mediate between my family and Jessica?" He was dumbfounded by Susan's words. However, Susan continued calmly, lying on her bed, gazing at the ceiling. She can entrust the kids to her younger sister Jessica with peace of mind. Indeed, the kids had warmed up to Jessica, who often visited us. He was at a loss for words. He could have just agreed to soothe his suffering daughter. But he couldn't do that. To him, Susan nearing the end of her life, and Jessica seeking new happiness, were both his daughters. He couldn't casually agree without considering Jessica's feelings. While he was lost for words, Susan spoke again. "Also, it seems Jessica likes him, and not in a strange way," she said. According to Susan, Jessica often said this before she got divorced. How she wished her husband was a man like me. How she wanted to marry a man like me. He fumbled for words to respond to Susan. Then Susan, with a smile, said to him, "If he finds someone he loves, I'm fine with it, but it's still painful. I'm not that magnanimous, but if it's Jessica, maybe I can accept it." In the end, the discussion about marrying Jessica originated from my late wife, Susan. I felt infuriated after parting with my father-in-law. At him, at Jessica, and most of all, at my deceased wife Susan. I returned home with this rage. The moment I got back home, my daughter came to me and started fussing. "Auntie isn't coming, I'm hungry," clinging to me. I handed some money to my son and told them to go eat whatever they liked. Then, I went to the back room unconsciously and stood before the sewing machine Susan had bought. She bought it saying that even though she was bad at sewing, this machine would allow her to mend things. What is there to mend? In a fit of rage, I picked up the sewing machine and threw it against the wall with all my strength. I collapsed on the spot as all my strength drained away. And I cried. The next Sunday. That day the sky was clear from the morning. I decided to have a barbecue in the yard with the kids. The three of us went to the supermarket for groceries. When we were coming back, reaching our house, Jessica was standing at the gate. Seeing her, my daughter ran towards her immediately. My son stayed beside me, looking shy and awkward. "I'm here," she said in a soft voice. I nodded and invited her inside. The kids were absorbed in the barbecue. Jessica and I sat on the porch, watching them. It was a typical Sunday afternoon scene, one you could find in any home. "I spoke to your father." She nodded affirmatively. "Did you know too, Jessica, about what Susan was thinking?" When I asked, she shook her head in denial. Then, she rushed to where the children were absorbed in grilling the barbecue. In the meantime, I brought a can of beer from the kitchen refrigerator. I intended to bring one just for me but brought one more for her. "Hey, don't grill everything at once. Your aunt and I are going to take it slow." While calling out to the kids and sitting back on the porch, Jessica placed some grilled barbecue on a small plate beside me. I received the plate and offered her the can of beer in return. "Thank you, but I'll pass on the alcohol." "It's fine. Have some. It goes well with the barbecue. It's surely delicious." She accepted the can of beer I insisted on, and we both opened the pull tabs at the same time. I didn't start coming here because someone asked me to. She began to talk before sipping the beer. It was her own will to visit us. She always admired and idealized our family. She thought she could have it someday. But divorce made that dream impossible. I wanted a family like yours. She continued with a sigh. So I went to your house just to fill the hole in my heart after my divorce, just for myself. She said and gulped down the beer. After that, she visited our house several times a month and helped with household chores and the kids. But we rarely had the chance to meet in person. Strangely, a feeling of loneliness started to grow in my heart when I couldn't meet her. That's right, you said this would patch up various things. In front of the sewing machine left thrown against the wall in anger the other night, I talked to my wife, Susan. Like mending with this sewing machine, were you trying to patch up the hole that could appear in me and the kids after you were gone? There's no need for such worry anymore. I bowed my head with gratitude towards the sewing machine lying against the wall, and to my wife, who I believed was watching over somewhere. Then, I plucked up the courage and called her. And I thanked Jessica again for all the time she had spent filling in for Susan, who had passed away. But let's stop this, all right. Such things. Why, am I a bother? She uttered in a flustered voice. No, it's not that. So first off, let's drop the brother, okay? She fell silent. I'll stop calling you Jessica too. Let's start with Jess at first. So, can you call me by my first name, too? While I was nervously waiting for her reply, she responded, all right, Mike.